Hello, how's it going? In today's video, I'm covering Assault on Blackwing Lair from Chronicle Volume 3. So let's go! Back in the Eastern Kingdoms, the adventurers who had defeated Ragnaros returned home and patted themselves on the back, except that one guy, who may or may not have been me. Bloody noob. Most people believed the dangers within Blackrock Mountain had been extinguished, but Moira Thorasan knew better. The Dark Irons were now free from the Fire Lord, but there was still some stuff to worry about. Ragnaros had only controlled the lower half of the mountain. The upper part belonged to Deathwing's son, Nefarian, and other members of the Black Dragonflight. Although both Ragnaros and Nefarian served the old gods, they'd never really been mates. For decades, they'd only held a tenuous truce with each other for convenience's sake. Nefarian had kept his presence secret from the rest of the world with assistance from some unusual friends. This ties in nicely to the Volume 2 video I did on Friday. Almost like I know what I'm doing or something. The true Horde, led by Dalrend Blackhand. He definitely didn't recognise Thrall as the Horde's new leader. Bunch of posers. His Horde was the real one. But he'd not really had any opportunity to make war with the armies of Orgrimmar, because it's too far away, and he was tired. So he just kinda sat around in Blackrock Spire and waited. Nefarian had promised him that his Black Dragonflight would help in the war against Thrall. All Dalrend had to do in exchange was swear allegiance to him. Obviously he had no intention of making good on that promise. He didn't care about Dalrend's problems at all. No one does. All he cared about was carrying on his father's work, revitalising and empowering the Black Dragonflight. However, he had a really frickin' odd way of going about this. He'd been running experiments on captured dragons, or he called them experiments. He basically just tortured them. He wanted to discover unexplored power by combining the blood of the different flights. So he just kinda beat the dragons up a bit and steal their blood. For years, the spawn of these experiments, which he dubbed the Chromatic Dragonflight, because it sounds cooler than rainbow dragons, would die before they even hatched. But eventually, some started to survive, then a few more. He was on the verge of ensuring their survival, so he ordered his minions to prepare a room where they could hatch an entire generation of the rainbow dragons. Back to Moira, she wasn't about to wait for Nefarian to reach full power. It was only a matter of time before he decided to conquer Ragnaros' old lair and wipe out the Dark Irons. She'd been impressed with the champions who'd ended the Fire Lord's reign, or most of them anyway. So she had her people send information to the far corners of Azeroth, and she made sure they mentioned Dalrend's Horde being in cahoots with the Black Dragonflight. And soon, this knowledge found its way to Orgrimmar. Just as she'd hoped, the folks in Orgrimmar were a little bit pissed off. Thrall had known about those jerks calling themselves the True Horde for years, but he'd never viewed them as a threat. But if they were foolish enough to trust the son of Deathwing, it's probably time to do something. So, he sent some Horde champions to the Eastern Kingdoms to settle the matter for good. About 40 of them again. But just like the Molten Core video, I'm not about to animate 40 different characters, because it's too bloody hard. Firstly, the champions entered Blackrock Spire, which is a dungeon. So I guess like 35 of them just waited outside or something. Anyway, they eventually reached Dalrend in Blackrock Stadium, but he sent a few waves of trash and deletes first because he's a pussy. Even when he did eventually come out to face the champions, he was riding a chromatic Drake mount called Gith. So the champions just kind of focused DPS on Gith until the false war chief fell off. At this point, one of the members of the group remembered they had a Seal of Ascension equipped, so they used that. And a bloody great red dragon appeared called Valestraz, or Valerie. This dragon's appearance made Gith decide, you know what, I don't even like this guy. So Gith started attacking Dalrend as well. The self-proclaimed leader of the True Horde died, and the rest of his followers scattered. The Black Dragonflight were now a hell of a lot less protected, and Nefarian was furious. But the 40 Horde champions did not cheese it. They wanted that epic loot, so they entered Blackwing Lair. And the first room they found themselves in was full of eggs. But it was okay, because there was a mind control orb in there as well. In fact, it was bloody hilarious. After dealing with an orc mage called Grethok, the heroes distributed themselves around the corners of the room while someone used the mind control orb. This forced Razorgore the Untamed to destroy all the eggs. And Razorgore was like, it was my job to protect the eggs. Why did we think it was a good idea to put a mind control orb in here? After all the eggs were destroyed, the champions just kinda killed Razorgore as well. Jerks. In the next room, they came across Valestraz again, and they were like, oh hey buddy, thanks for your help earlier. However, he'd been corrupted, so he was like, you what mate, do you even lift? And then started fighting them, and it was a right ball ache. Every 15 seconds, he'd inflict a member of the raid group with something called Burning Adrenaline, which basically turned them into an AoE time bomb. And every third one of these was cast on whoever held the most hate, which was the main tank, because they were doing their job properly. So as a result, the main tank died, the healers had to work their ass off to keep the off-tank topped up. All in all, just the worst. But they won, and to be honest, everybody in the group felt that feeling you feel when you win one of these types of fights. It's almost like an orgasm. Don't judge them. This video will be too long if I keep bloody doing this for every fight. So they fought their way through Blackwing Lair, At one point, they were in a room full of gas that made everyone move ridiculously slowly, and they all hated it. But eventually, they reached Nefarian himself. And Nefarian was like, "Let the games begin." In a Bane voice, obviously, even though that movie wouldn't come out for another 10 years. The room suddenly flooded with a buttload of ads, draconids, from every bloody flight. And the point of this entire phase was to just kill 42 of them. I know that sounds like a weird joke. It's not. Kill 42 ads. Then they stopped spawning. Nefarian then joined the fight and cast an AoE ability called Shadow Flame, but it was okay because everyone was wearing resistant gear and or popped cooldowns. It's a tank and spank phase, so they just hit him a lot. At some point, all of the draconids that had been killed before suddenly got back up again as bone constructs. So some of the champions were forced to deal with them, whilst the rest of the group continued to just hit Nefarian a lot. Eventually he fell. Good thing too, because if they'd wiped, we'd be sat here waiting 15 minutes before they could try again. The Horde champions took Nefarian's head as proof of their victory and returned to Orgrimmar as heroes. As far as Azeroth was concerned, the Black Dragonflight's power was now erased, and no longer anything to worry about. Spoilers, they're wrong. And we're leaving it there! In the next Volume 3 video, Hakar stuff. We're doing an Alliance dungeon, and then Zul'Gurub, which is another bloody Horde raid, because apparently they get the credit for all of the raids in vanilla. As always, thanks very much to those of you who support the channel as patrons. If anyone would like to support the channel in that way, links in the description. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!